card. And, of course, all of the legends are going to be there, too. With that, I want to bring in the youngster from Nuremberg, Germany. He's called Das Wunderkind for a good reason. He's one of the hottest products at WCW today. Alex Wright, come on in. Alex, without a question of a doubt, I've got to say, this has got to be your biggest opportunity today. This may be your big break.
I feel actually like I'm an American because I wrestled here for 1 year now. Everybody is friendly, the people like me here, and I just think I have to show that I'm American.
Satisfied at the debut of Berlyn, a very impressive debut, I might add, as we stand here with Berlyn and the lovely Uda, his translator. Now,
as the German machine sweeps over the WCW.
All right, that is it. Either you talk English.
Ist nicht akzeptabel.
In the mid-1990s, Alex Wright was one of WCW's most promising international stars. A second-generation wrestler from Germany, Wright was introduced to WCW audiences in 1994 as Das Wunderkind, a young, energetic, and technically gifted competitor. With his flashy dance moves and European wrestling style, he quickly became a rising star. However, as the wrestling industry evolved and WCW sought to embrace edgier, more extreme personas, Wright's upbeat gimmick felt outdated. What followed was one of the most drastic and controversial rebrands in WCW history, the birth of Berlyn. Gone was the bright, charismatic Das Wunderkind. In its place stood a cold, militant, almost Nazi-like German aristocrat named Berlyn. Clad in black, sporting a short, severe mohawk, and accompanied by an enforcer, Berlyn exuded an unsettling, authoritarian presence. It was a striking transformation, one that carried the kind of eerie undertones that made audiences uncomfortable, perhaps intentionally. But despite the dramatic shift, Berlyn's tenure was doomed from the start, plagued by WCW's mismanagement and even a real-life tragedy. Alex Wright was born May 17, 1975, in Nuremberg, Germany. Alex grew up around the wrestling industry and was trained by his father, Steve Wright, a British professional wrestler. Alex wrestled his first match in 1991 in Germany when he was 16 years old and became known around the circuit as a star in the making. Wright was discovered by World Championship Wrestling in mid-1994 when WCW did a tour through Germany. He signed a contract with WCW and went through more training at the WCW power plant. He originally wrestled as a babyface and was known as Das Wunderkind, which translates to Wonder Child. Besides his young age, Wright stood out because of his gimmick. His entrance music was of the techno genre, which was popular in American and German dance clubs at the time, and he often danced as he walked to the ring. Ironically, Wright's first major feud in WCW was with another young upcoming star named Jean-Paul Levesque, who would later go on to become one of the biggest stars in wrestling history. But before Jean-Paul became Triple H, he lost to Wright at Starrcade in both men's pay-per-view debut. In his early career, Wright went undefeated in matches against several WCW superstars and grew a decent following. Wright's first loss came at the hands of Arn Anderson on pay-per-view for the TV title, but it became known that Wright was getting a decent push. He became a staple of the mid-card, engaging in entertaining feuds with rival Disco Inferno and other cruiserweight stars. However, as WCW's product evolved with the rise of the New World Order and a shift towards reality-based, edgy characters, Wright's colorful and upbeat persona began to feel outdated. As the late 1990s approached, Wright's character matured. He was briefly turned heel in 1997, ditching the bright colors and dancing. His more serious persona led to a push in WCW's cruiserweight and television title divisions. But even with the heel turn, fans still saw Wright as just the dancing young kid that didn't fit in with the new WCW. By 1999, WCW was undergoing significant creative and structural shifts. The rise of the NWO, the introduction of high-profile stars from WWE, and an over-reliance on established main event talent left younger stars struggling to break through. Fans started to see the Das Wunderkind gimmick as outdated, and the promotion sought to rebrand him with an edgier, more serious persona to fit the darker, reality-based direction wrestling was taking. Seeking a reinvention, WCW creatives devised a character that would pull from Wright's German culture. Instead of the fun-loving, dancing Alex Wright, they wanted the complete opposite, a dark, menacing militant named Berlyn. Drawing inspiration from cyberpunk and dystopian aesthetics, Berlyn dressed in all-black attire, complete with a high-collared trench coat, sunglasses, and a stylized mohawk. His promos were delivered exclusively in German, reinforcing the idea that he refused to communicate with American audiences. To further amplify his aura of superiority, he was accompanied by an enforcer named The Wall and a translator who spoke for him, positioning him as a cold, elitist foreign menace. WCW packaged Berlyn as a dangerous outsider, playing on xenophobic and authoritarian imagery to generate heat. His entrance was an intimidating spectacle, featuring flashing strobe lights and industrial music, setting him apart from the company's more conventional wrestlers. The stage was set for what WCW hoped would be a dominant heel run, but from the moment Berlyn debuted, the gimmick was plagued by a series of insurmountable problems. One of the most significant reasons behind Berlyn's failure was the unfortunate timing of his introduction. Originally slated to debut in mid-1999, WCW postponed his first televised appearance due to the Columbine High School massacre in April of that year. Given the gimmick's militant, authoritarian presentation, executives feared it would be viewed as insensitive or controversial in the wake of the national tragedy. This delay dampened the initial buzz surrounding the character and left WCW scrambling to reintroduce him in a way that wouldn't cause backlash. By the time Berlyn finally stepped into the ring in September 1999, much of the intrigue surrounding the character had dissipated. The long wait had caused fans to lose interest, and the company's hesitancy to fully commit to the gimmick was apparent. Additionally, WCW's mismanagement of his first match further derailed Berlyn's momentum. Berlyn's first major match was intended to be against Buff Bagwell at Fall Brawl 1999, a bout designed to establish him as a serious heel. However, Bagwell reportedly refused to lose to Berlyn, forcing WCW to replace him with veteran wrestler Jim Duggan at the last minute. This substitution proved disastrous. Duggan's slow, brawling style clashed horribly with Berlyn's methodical, technical approach, leading to a disjointed and unimpressive match. Instead of emerging as a dominant new force, Berlyn looked awkward and ineffective in his debut performance. Further compounding the problem was WCW's inconsistent booking. After his underwhelming introduction, Berlyn failed to gain traction in the mid-card. His feuds were uninspired, and he lacked the defining victories needed to cement him as a credible threat. The Wall, initially intended to be his muscle, soon overshadowed Berlyn, breaking away from him and embarking on his own singles career. Without his enforcer, Berlyn lost much of his mystique and became just another mid-card heel. As 1999 drew to a close, it became evident that Berlyn was not connecting with the audience. Fans struggled to understand or care about the gimmick, and the decision to have him only speak German made it difficult to cut compelling promos. WCW, notorious for its erratic booking during this period, quickly lost interest in pushing Berlyn as a top heel. By early 2000, the character was quietly dropped, and Alex Wright reverted to a more generic European heel persona. Wright attempted to regain relevance by forming the Boogie Nights alongside Disco Inferno, but by this point, WCW was in its death throes. When WWE purchased WCW in 2001, Wright was not among the wrestlers brought into the new company, and he quietly retired from mainstream wrestling soon after. The failure of Berlyn serves as a reminder of how crucial timing, booking, and execution are in professional wrestling. While the concept had potential, its unfortunate debut delay, poor opponent choices, and inconsistent storytelling prevented it from ever reaching the heights WCW had envisioned. Despite its failure, the Berlyn gimmick remains a fascinating footnote in wrestling history. It showcased Alex Wright's willingness to reinvent himself and experiment with darker personas, even if the execution fell flat. Today, Berlyn is remembered not for his in-ring dominance, but as an example of a character that was doomed before it even began.